Welcome to Backseat Drivers. I am Alex Weaver. Jonathan Merriman's here, and we didn't scare him off too bad. The Vice President of Competition at Hendrick Motorsports, Chad Knaus. Hope everybody had a nice little Olympic break. A good show coming up. We'll get struck with a little road course fever, talk team dynamics as the regular season winds down, and is the pressure mounting for Kevin Harvick and Denny Hamlin? Another road course coming up, and this time it's Watkins Glen. We hear that road courses may be an equalizer and to expect the unexpected. Well, I have a little bit of a bone to pick with that statement because lately the driver expected to win wins. Chad, are road courses truly an equalizer?
I don't know where that came from. Why would somebody say that it's an equalizer? To me, it's a differentiator, if anything. We've seen road course ringers. We've seen, guys that are come in and operate at a really high level and win a bunch of races. Chase Elliott, for instance, Jeff Gordon, these guys that can come in and really get it done. So I don't think it's an equalizer by any means. If anything, it's a separator from the field because man, there's a lot of guys that can really, you can count the real road course guys on a couple of hands, where a lot of these other racetracks, you can have multiple drivers go out and win pretty consistently.
I think some of it might come from the fact that, strategy is able to play out a little bit different. You're pitting backwards, fuel mileage comes into play. So I think if you want to get a little wacky and you catch a caution at the right time at the end of the race, I think things have the potential to be equal. But look, the only thing that's going to equalize the field is if, your guys don't show up because they're just so good on the road courses. Are they an equalizer? My answer is kind of ish.
Yeah, well, we'd both be crazy, and Chad already mentioned his name. The driver that comes to mind every time a road course is mentioned, Chase Elliott. Merriman, you picked him to win every single road course at the beginning of the season, so we know that you think that Chase is good. What makes him so good at a road course?
I don't know. I'm only half wrong this year because he's won, I think, half of the ones that we've been to. I think, it goes back to, you look at his dad, and his dad runs a bunch of stuff out at Road Atlanta and does a lot of that. He's a very disciplined race car driver, and he just picks it up. And oh, by the way, if you look back at the lineage of where that car comes from, Chad knows this, you could trace that straight back to Jeff Gordon. And, Gordon was one of the best. So I just think it's kind of in the blood at Hendrick Motorsports, in my opinion.
Quite honestly, Chase, I don't think gets enough credit for what he does personally on the road courses. You mentioned the cars, Alan Gustafson, the guys, they do an amazing job. Everybody at HMS does a really good job preparing these race cars. But Chase is very methodical. Like, he thinks things through, and he can actually just duplicate time after time after time. Very Jimmy Johnson-esque from that standpoint. Is like he goes out there, he analyzes, he understands what he needs to do to make the race car go fast in a specific corner or portion of the racetrack, and then he can move on from that spot and improve on the other spot, and then he improves on the next spot, and the next thing you know, when he puts it all together, man, he's pretty fast.
Yeah, I expect him to be pretty fast this upcoming Sunday. Well, we always see team dynamics come into play later in the season, whether it's helping each other out or sometimes hurting each other. Luckily, it probably didn't cost them a race win or heavy points, but two Hendrick drivers, Chad, cover your ears, had trouble at Road America, Alex Bowman and Kyle Larson. Now, RCR has two drivers that are competing for a playoff spot with only 5 points separating them. Chad, from the team dynamic, how do you balance teammates helping, hurting? What does that look like?
That's tough. Obviously, everybody, as soon as that happened, it was like, oh, man, that's going to be big. Quite honestly, it wasn't near as big as what people maybe would have thought it would have been. And even me, I was concerned. I was like, man, how are we going to handle this? And our drivers and our crew chiefs, they get it. They completely understand what it is that we're trying to do at Hendrick Motorsports. So when the 5 and the 48 got together, I was like, man, that was racing, and they all knew the situation. Hard braking, very difficult corner to come into. The thing that I like the most is that straight away, the drivers went together. They spoke with one another. The crew chiefs were talking about it before the end of the race via our chat system, so we knew that it was going to be okay. And the way they came into Hendrick Motorsports on Monday, just, hey, everything's okay. We're going to talk about it. We're going to get it squared away. Haven't had a problem since.
Teammates can also be beneficial. We've seen a couple races where teammates have given that preferred line.
Yeah, and look, I think the bigger thing here, too, is if you look at the 5 and you look at the 48 and you go back to Road America, they're both racing, for their team. They're not necessarily playing the team card. They're aggressive. They can be aggressive with each other. I mean, that's my mindset. I'll hip check you trying to get to the elevator first. I don't care. You have to be selfish in this game if you want to win. But to Chad's point, unless it's malicious, I don't see where there would be a problem. I think Kyle and Alex both have a pretty level head outside the race car.
Normal meeting that week, right? No ill feelings, nothing?
No, nothing at all. It went really great. And the way that I always try to talk about it is it's sibling rivalry. You want to go beat your brother at basketball worse than anybody on the block. But as soon as that new kid comes into the block, and if he's better than your brother, you guys are going to figure out how to beat that new kid. And as long as we keep that type of mentality at Hendrick Motorsports, we're going to be perfectly fine.
Well, Gordon Johnson, back in the heyday, I think it was Martinsville, Gordon comes on the radio. Man, that 48's really testing my patience. It's still played today. So they just race hard.
Yeah, I like that. We're going to use the basketball quote from here on out. Well, it's been the season of surprises, and 2 massive surprises. Denny Hamlin and Kevin Harvick are winless. 4 races left and only 3 playoff spots available. Merriman, who has the best chance to knock off the Goliaths of Harvick and Hamlin?
I don't know. I think if you look around that cutoff line, right, I think Reddick's probably got the best chance of winning, and he's on the good side of the cut line, so that knocks him back. I don't think Denny Hamlin's going to go anywhere. I think Kevin Harvick is the one who's really in trouble. I go back to what I said about road courses, a little bit earlier in the show. The strategy can come into play, and I think you have to have a fast race car to play the strategy out. So if you take someone like Matt DiBenedetto, who finds himself around the front in some of these races, they catch some strategy, they catch some people off guard, maybe he could come out and win one of these races. And it only is going to take 2 wins from not Denny Hamlin and not Kevin Harvick for this situation to play out. And then you go into Daytona, which, you could throw the notes off the table because anybody can win that, as we saw in the 500.
Can't wait. I had like 20 winners this season. That's not going to happen.
Well, we're not too far away, quite honestly, right? But I see it very challenging for the 11 and the 4 because they don't have the uptick in performance. You're going to see Tyler Reddick, who's been really fast on the road courses. The 42 has been really fast on the road courses. Much like you said, you get an opportunity to get out front, you're very difficult to pass. It's hard to pass at those racetracks. So those guys have a shot. You go to, Daytona, like you said, is the equalizer. The one that I think that the 4-car has an opportunity to kind of reinvigorate himself is Michigan. I think that's a Ford-style racetrack. Pretty consistently, Fords have run really well there. And I think he's got a shot to go there and run really well. But, which is also the tracks that they ran really well at last year in 2020. So he's got a shot. But, man, I'm telling you, it's not showing as favorable as what I would think if you asked me this 3 months ago.
Well, is it a world that we're possibly living in where the season, the 4 of the 11 missed the playoffs? I don't know. But rapid fire time. Chad, you get to start on this one. Harvick and Rodney Childers, Hamlin and Chris Gabehart. You know this perspective well. When it comes time for a little bit of frustration, what is that crew chief driver dynamic? Trying to get your driver to reinvigorate himself a little bit.
It's a challenge. It can be really tough, and I don't know the dynamics of those race teams. I know Rodney's a very capable crew chief, and he and Kevin have a good relationship. They've been together for a long time. And those guys are pretty, Rodney's pretty even keel. Like, he's not the kind of guy that's going to come in and shake things up to try to get some energy going. I think he relies more on Kevin for that to happen. Now, if you go the other side, you look at Gapehart, he'll come in and he'll shake some boots, right? He'll try to make some things happen, which is what Denny needs. So we've got to see which type of pattern works. Is Gapehart going to be able to show up on a Monday and be like, look, guys, things aren't working here. We've got to make something happen, whether it's a setup procedure, whether it's a different style of car, going to a different style of racetrack, start to make some super aggressive calls. Who knows what that is? But I think Denny's kind of, he's kind of pre-consumed with what he's got going on. Like, he's got the 23-11 race team that he's trying to get sorted out, so I think that puts him a little bit behind the 8 ball. And, Harvick, you hear the rumors about him going and doing television. So is he kind of, exited the stage as well? So you just don't know. It's a tough spot for those guys to be in.
Hey, look, I'm all about getting along with everybody, right? But look, if you're not winning and you're a driver that's won 9 times last year, and I think Denny won 7 or 8 times last year, there's got to be a little irritation there. You can win. You can win in the cars, that you're driving, because not a lot changed year over year. So I think it's probably more frustrating, the mystery of why they're not winning necessarily than being irritated at each other. But look, it's got to come out. Somebody's got to be the pincushion in that relationship.
Well, we'll stop talking about it eventually, but man, we have talked about the 4 and the 11 not winning all season long. It's just been a really big head scratcher for a lot of us. Merriman, what's been your favorite finish of the season so far?
I'll take both Atlanta races. Teammates coming into play, people irritated, after the race, some controversy on one, not so much the other, but man, those Atlanta races were good.
You like a little conflict in life,
yeah,
don't you?
I do.
You like
I do, Chad. I love the Atlanta race.
Right. I want everybody to get along, but I'm going to hip check you on the way to the elevator. I mean, you like a little aggression.
Instigation.
Chad, favorite finish so far this season?
We've been very fortunate at Hendrick Motorsports to have had a lot of wins and a lot of successes. Getting the 270 at the 600 obviously was a big deal, but my favorite from my perspective is the 1, 2, 3, 4 finish at Dover. doesn't happen often, right? So to have all 4 of our teams that were entered into that event finish in the top 4 at a track that I love and I'm very passionate about, that was a big deal for me.
That was a big smile for Mr. H on that day. I remember seeing that across the pit boxes. Okay, well, most surprising performance of the year, Chad. Let's start with you. Could be good or bad.
Most surprising performance of the year. I'm going to sit back and just what happened in New Hampshire a couple weeks ago with the 10-car winning. Kind of came out of the blue, didn't see that happening. SHR not running great. The 10-car had a horrible, horrible first half of the season. Boom, all of a sudden they're in the playoffs. So I thought that was a big surprise to me.
Yeah, I'm actually going to agree with you on that because I'm going to say it again, a 9-time winner last year with no wins this year, getting beat by the 10-car who's previously only won on super speedways and came out and, you know, he really performed well and kind of waxed them there in the closing lap. So that whole dynamic is confusing to me and very surprising.
Yeah, the number 10 being the first car for SHR to win in July. It's exactly how we wrote it up. Merriman, best new race added to the calendar this season.
Best new race, I'm going to go ahead and say Nashville. Even though we had been there before in different series, I loved it. It was old school wear and tear on equipment. And I have to make good with Chad because he's irritated with me over the Atlanta picks.
I'm going Road America. What an amazing venue from my perspective. I'm from northern Illinois, southern Wisconsin area, grew up there. So as soon as I got off the airplane and I saw the green grass and the trees and the environment, I was like, man, this brings me back home. And I realized how big a deal motorsports is in southern Wisconsin. And to be out there, the race was great, the crowd was great, the environment was electric. Really a great race. So I'm gonna say that one.
Both of those pretty packed houses too, so the fans showed up for both of those races. I'll agree with both. Well, that's a good thing. Watkins Glen is up next for the NASCAR Cup Series, so Chad gets another road course coming up. It's not Road America, but we're heading up to the state of New York. One driver will be in Victory Lane on Sunday. Chad, who will it be?
I'm going to go with Chase Elliott. Yeah, Chase Elliott. I think Kyle's going to be a close second, but I think Chase is the favorite, but those Gibbs guys are going to be chomping at their heels.
Merriman, you going with the 9?
Well, I mean, I picked him to win every road course race this year, so I have to go with the 9. It just seems like, you know, a track he's super comfortable with. He's very fast at. First win there, so I think all things point to the 9.
Okay, I'm going with the 9. Don't come at me. I'm also going with the 5. So I'm keeping the Chase Elliott fans happy while also picking the 5 of Kyle Larson. Well, thank you both for joining us. Good luck to Hendrick Motorsports this weekend. I know it'll be a fun one for you guys. Fans, make sure and tune in to the race this Sunday at 3 p.m. Eastern on NBCSN, and we'll see you right back here next week in the Backseat.